Let's try this. Oops. Yeah, some you all know.
Hi, welcome everybody. How's everybody doing?
Good.
Quiet. I'm cold. Everybody cold? Well, thank you guys for being here. I know there's a million things you guys could be doing tonight, whether you're here as a friend, coming to support somebody, or a family member, or a client coming to review the ideas we have shared with you, or simply help us with the growth of our company. I want to thank you for taking the time to be here with us tonight. Tonight you're going to hear from several speakers. The first speaker you're going to hear from is Robin Sears. Robin Sears is going to talk to you about a problem that's happening across America right now, a problem that's real. And then the next speaker is going to be Wade Skolsky. And Wade Skolsky is going to talk to us about a solution to that problem that we feel is not only needed but vital right now. And then the last speaker you're going to hear from is Brett Sears. And Brett Sears is going to tie everything together and talk to you about the opportunities we have in front of us here for you tonight. So please help me welcome Robin Sears.
Thanks. Hello, everybody. We always say we love the holidays because everybody else is out partying. You're here with us. So we will make it a party for you because we appreciate that you are here with us and not out partying. And I am here with you guys instead of going to the party that I had tonight. So there you go. So we're all making sacrifices for a very important reason. So most of you here tonight have heard the story that we have to tell in one form or another. And so the reason that we constantly get back together every week, the reason that we invite you here is so that we can be reminded of what it is, what our mission is, what it is that the group of us in here are truly fighting for. Why we get up every day to do what we do. Why we come to a Wednesday night instead of go out partying. Why we show up for our Saturday morning trainings. Because we know that there's a really, really difficult problem. Well, there are many difficult problems, particularly given the news today, right? However, this is one of the more global problems that our country is facing. And so this is a typical 70s family. Doesn't that totally look like your family? Once upon a time. Maybe not your family, but it totally looks like my family. We actually looked for a picture of my family and could find it, but this looks a lot like it. So typical 70s family, right? I grew up in the 70s. And in the 70s, this particular family was doing pretty good. Dad was out making money. Mom was a teacher. So we had a dual income going on. They knew that it was important to protect their family. My family had multiple millions of dollars in life insurance. My family was part of Prudential at the half. My family knew that if something was going to happen to my dad, who was a lawyer, that we needed to be protected. So we had insurance. We had that protection. We all went to school in my family. We went to preschool. We went to college. There wasn't a question of whether we were going to college. It was just what college we were going to. And my parents felt very confident that with my mom's pension from school and with my dad's retirement savings and Social Security, that they were going to be taken care of for life. And things were pretty good. And in the last 10, 20 years, things started to change for a family like this. And what we started to see as we went into homes was that people actually didn't have the things that we're talking about. We faced a new reality. And we have this fabulous picture of the modern family, right? So not only did the family construction change a lot, and the level of acceptance, which we appreciate in this world that we celebrate, but things started to change in not as good of a way. We started to go into homes and see that there wasn't any protection. I tell this story quite often. I went into a home and there was a 4-year-old, 10 o'clock in the morning, who was playing with some blocks. And I turned to the 4-year-old's mom and said, "What is the 4-year-old doing here?" Assuming that that 4-year-old would be in school. And she said, "Well, we have a fabulous preschool down the road, but we couldn't qualify for the scholarship to be able to go, and we can't afford 5 days a week. We can only send her 3 days a week." And it was okay. She was like, it's okay. So 2 days a week, she's home with me. Same thing started happening when we went into homes and we were talking about college. There's our college picture. How about this college picture? This is a great one. Debt for $31,000, $26,000, $47,000. This is actually pretty low, right? This is the debt that these particular graduates have or were anticipating having upon graduation. And what we were actually finding, what I find most interesting when I'm talking to college-ready students today, is they're automatically saying, I'm going to community college. Now, on the one hand, that's a great thing, right? The fact that we have community colleges, the fact that we can actually plan to go to community college before we go to a four-year university is a great alternative. But it's no longer just an alternative, it's becoming the norm. Because folks don't have the choices to go to that four-year university because they don't have the money saved and they're not qualifying for the loans to be able to do it. And retirement, what's really interesting about that family picture that we talked about is, one, a lot of folks aren't saving anything. But more often, folks are actually saving a little bit. And they think they're doing really well. You know, I go into a home and they're like, oh, I got savings covered. I've maxed out my 401k. And then when we run the numbers, they realize that they thought they were 5 years from retirement and they're going to be short $5,000 a month. These are shocking moments. And we took a step back and said, what's changed? What's happened in our world that the family picture of the 70s is so different today? And so we said, okay, well, let's look at the way the world is structured. We've got wealthy people, people at the top. They're not bad people. We all want to be there. Yeah. We're there. We're close to there. We want to be there. But what's happening with wealthy folks? We know that wealthy folks have access to education. And they don't just have access to that education because they have money. They actually have an institutionalized foundation that says everybody is going to college. Again, it's not a matter of if someone who's from a wealthy family goes to college. It's a matter of which college you're going to, and you're probably going to the alma mater of your dad or your grandfather because they both went there too. Opportunity and ownership. We know that everybody at the top owns something, whether it's real estate, a business, or a trust fund. They own something. And I often say the folks that are below the wealthy are climbing the corporate ladder and the folks at the top own the corporate ladder. And the reason they own is because it's the only way to be wealthy. Makes sense. Financial freedom. What is financial freedom? People ask me that all the time. In here, we have a very specific definition of financial freedom. Financial freedom is about having time and opportunity. How many of us know a whole lot of people who have a lot of time on their hands but no money? Yeah, a lot of people, right? And then there are some people that we know who have a whole lot of money but they don't have a single minute to enjoy it because they're working all the time, right? Neither of those are financial freedom. For us, financial freedom is having enough money to do what you want, when you want, with whoever you want to do it. Such as, you know, running to Vegas for a weekend to see a concert. And going 5-star. And financial guidance. Hundreds of thousands of people wake up every day to say, how can I serve the folks at the top? And it makes sense because they can pay for the services. If you were going to have a choice as to who you were going to serve, wouldn't you want to serve the person who you knew could pay you? Right? That's why the wealthy have access to what we call institutionalized service. People waking up every day to say, how can I serve you to get a little piece of your pie? And we said, what's happening at the bottom? Because the truth is, the folks have always been at the top. But the bottom, well, the folks that we call the not so wealthy, there's actually a lot available to the folks down here. There's free preschool. We as a country recognize the importance of early childhood education. We know for a fact that it impacts later success. And therefore, we actually provide it for free to the folks at the bottom. For the record, every other country provides it free to everybody. We're the only ones who provide it free to only a limited group of people. College grants, financial support. hundreds and thousands of people who wake up every day and say, I want to have an impact. And I'm going to do it by helping not so wealthy people. So they've got institutionalized support. And the truth is, for a long time, I looked at how I was going to dedicate my life to supporting this group of people. Because I thought that this was where I could have the most impact. And when we set up the world this way, we took a look and we saw this really big space in the middle. And that's the space that we call Main Street families. For everybody else. The folks who are here are folks who are living paycheck to paycheck, who want all of these things for their kids, who can't necessarily afford all of it. And that includes a single parent making $40,000 or $50,000 a year as a teacher, to a dual income family making $250,000 and living in Stevenson Ranch. They both have a car payment. They both have a mortgage. One may be driving a Honda and one may be driving a Lexus. They're in the same boat. And as my husband says, they're just in better shape broke. And we looked at what was happening in the middle. And we said, folks want their children to go to preschool. We recognize the need, and it costs a lot of money. I have twins. We're going to have to pay twice. And we keep praying for that twin discount, but it's like 25%. Going to college. What does it mean to be able to make sure you save for college? Sue and I were talking, and we were looking at what it cost to go to college when we went. When I went to Berkeley, it cost $4,000 to go to Berkeley. Like a day at college costs $4,000 now. It requires so much more money. And the folks that are here need the money and aren't actually qualifying for the loans to be able to get the free money. Love to own. The number of people that we talk to who say, I could completely do my boss's job. I would love to own a business. For those of you who know, I'm a lawyer for startups, generally speaking, and I coach entrepreneurs. Every startup that I work with starts with a minimum capital of $500,000 from investors. And most startups fail in the first 5 years. And usually the reason that startups fail isn't because they didn't have enough money to start. It's because they didn't have enough money to sustain themselves over the 5 years until they made $1 of profit. And financial advice. Who needs financial advice more than the folks who are trying to figure out how to make all this happen on their own? And yet the financial advisors that are out there will only talk to you if you have $250,000 at least. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't have $250,000 laying around. So we started to look at this. And we said, so what is going on in the middle? Who's waking up every day to take care of this group of people? And we realized that the answer was no one. That in the middle, we're on our own to figure out what to do about preschool. We're on our own to figure out how to get our kids to college. We're on our own, stuck in our jobs. And we're on our own trying to figure out how we're ever going to save for retirement. But there is no march on Washington about it. I mean, there's a small group of us in here who think, yeah, that kind of makes sense, right? Can we all agree that sounds like a pretty big problem, right? But we're not raging mad about it. And we believe that the reason we're not raging mad about it is because here we actually have institutionalized struggle. Our parents struggled, our grandparents struggled, and therefore we just figure our life is supposed to be about struggle. So we're okay with it. We think that this is okay and that this is the only way it can be. And a group of us in here said, it has to be different. If we're going to make an impact in this world, this is the place that we can make the biggest impact because no one else is doing it. And why isn't it changing? Who could we possibly turn to? How many of us believe that the banks are here to get us rich? No, banks aren't here to get us rich, really? At 0.00001%, we're not going to get rich. How about the lenders? Right, this is my favorite. We get really mad that the lenders here that are not here to get us out of debt. And we call them lenders. And we get mad when all they do is give money for interest and not take care of us. Corporate America, life insurance. These are the institutions that the government actually created in order to take care of the people that we're talking about. And yet we don't trust them. And the reason we don't trust them is because they have not been proven to be very trustworthy. They're not here to take care of us. And so the truth is, no one's coming to fix it. And so we accept it. We accept the struggle. We accept the limited opportunities. We accept the strife that our kids are inevitably going to face. And a group of us in here said, if there was a way it could be different, what kind of impact could that have? What kind of impact could we have? Imagine what it would mean for your kids to know that they could go to college and walk away without a single dollar of debt. How much more risks could they take? How much easier could you sleep at night knowing that your mom or dad was going to have enough money to retire before they actually collapse at work? How much better could you feel if you knew that you helped your brother or your sister who just had a new baby protect their family in an emergency? That's what tonight is about. There is a huge problem facing our world, our communities, our families, and our own family. We know that there's a problem. Tonight's about saying we're not going to stand for the struggle. We're going to find a way to make it different. We're going to ask, what if? We're going to be open to the possibility of what kind of impact we can have. With that, I'm going to invite Wade Skalski to come up here to share with us the first part of our solution to truly making a difference.
I don't know why I'm dressing with short sleeves. It's the holidays. I'm not giving in to the fact that
freezing.
it's cold. So how's everybody doing? Good? Good? You're kind of spread out, so it's the presentation's going to wave across you guys and wave back, right? So you're going to get the worst of it. So, well, again, my name is Wade Skalski, and I think Robin does such a great job of talking about the access gap, which is there's a huge group of our country that does not have access to the financial tools or to basically just the information that they need to succeed, right? And the access to financial security, really, when we start to talk about it, is it's why do the wealthy have it, right? Notice that when Robin puts the wealthy up there, she doesn't break them down by race. She doesn't break them down by you know, where they're from in the country, how long they've been here. She doesn't break them down by anything. She just breaks them down by wealthy, right? Why is that? Because being wealthy is a set of values. It's a set of how do they think about money? It has nothing to do with anything else. It doesn't have anything to do with, I'm going off the rails here on this because Sue's looking at me like I'm a crazy person. Am I making sense? Does that make sense? The reason why I'm saying that is because we're fooled in this country. The illusion of is that to make money, you have to do it being a professional athlete, or you have to be a professional musician, or you have to inherit it from somebody else, right? 89% of millionaires in the United States are first-generation millionaires. It doesn't matter where you're from, okay? It matters what your values are about money. So what that means is the wealthy have to think a little bit differently about money and how they create it. Well, what are some of the principles that the wealthy look at with regards to money? Well, the first thing is they lock in advances for their family, all right? What does that mean? Well, basically, they do this through, Robin talked about it. If you go to college, then your son's or daughter's going to go to college. It's institutionalized in your family in terms of education. They do it through trust funds. They do it through different ways of protecting their businesses. They also develop habits. They understand that to become wealthy, you do it over time. It's not something that the majority of people in this country are owners, right? They build businesses. They own real estate. They do something where it takes over time, and that you have to develop the habits. It's not lottery winners. 60% of lottery winners actually lose all of their money within 5 years. Like if I gave you $20 million right now, there's a 6 out of 10 chance that in 5 or 10 years you wouldn't have it anymore. Just as I just gave it to you. And the reason is because most lottery winners bring their view of money with them, and they don't change it when they get the lottery wins, right? The wealthy don't do that. They know how to develop the correct habits with regards to money. They also leverage experts. The wealthy don't do their own taxes. Okay? They understand that their time is very incredibly valuable, and what they have to do is they hire and leverage experts to do things for them so that they can spend their time doing whatever it is that they're good at. If they own a chiropractic business, or if they, for instance, like my father owns a construction business, he focuses on his construction business, he doesn't focus on anything else, okay? And the fourth thing they do is they understand the concept of, Robin's phone died. Robin, can you click me forward? The phone died. Someone didn't charge the thing, so I even know what the next one is. They leverage the idea of strategic partnerships. Okay, why is this important? Who here knows who Mike Tyson is? Right? Who here knows who Ronda Rousey is? Right? So these two people, right, are like the best at what they did. Mike Tyson was unbeatable and Ronda Rousey was unbeatable, right? But when you do things by yourself, when you're the person that does it and that you're responsible for it all, someone's always coming for you. Does that make sense? No one person is unbeatable. I don't care if it's Mike Tyson, I don't care if it's Ronda Rousey. The wealthy understand that they want to have the cultivation of strategic partnerships because you can accomplish more together than you can by yourself, right? When situations change, whenever things are happening, and that you know that you can get on the phone, you can call someone and say, I need some help. You're not standing in the ring by yourself. Does that make sense? So let's move forward. So why is this all important? I don't know. It's the short sleeves are freezing my brain. I don't know. But really, the idea of strategic partnerships is this. Primerica has been in business since 1977. They have $3 billion in market capitalization. What that means is they're our big, wealthy uncle, all right? And they only provide services and education for that middle market. Why is this important? Because Robin talked about it. Nobody's coming to help the Main Street families. The banks aren't going to do it. The lenders aren't going to do it. No one's coming to help. And Primerica is the only company that actually creates those tools and services for that Main Street family. They're our strategic partner. We understand that if we're going to have to help people with their money and help people understand what they need, that we're going to partner with a company like Primerica. So how do we bring these tools of the wealthy basically to Main Street families? Because like, look, we can't go out and go around giving people $500,000 to start a business, right? We don't have, does anyone have $500,000? If you have $500,000 you want to give to someone to start a business? No, okay. If you did, I'd take it, right? So how do we do that? Well, what we can do though is we can transfer the information. We can transfer the knowledge that the wealthy have and the way that they look at their money, and we can transfer that and teach it to Main Street families. The first thing that we do is we can lock in advances for a family. Well, how do we do that? We do that with something called level term insurance. Basically, we borrow a big bag of money, and if something happens, then let's say something happened to my dad, then my family would get the life insurance proceeds. Now, we don't have to do it with trust fund because we don't have enough money for a trust fund, so we borrow this bag of money. The next thing that we do, basically, is we develop habits. The habits that we talk about are the habits of saving. Fred always says, if you save a little bit now, over time, you'll have more at the end than if you save nothing, right? That's true. Let's get in the habit of saving, even if it's $50 a month, $100 a month, so start putting it in a mutual fund and leverage the markets so that we get into habits of saving. It's as that habit grows, then we can start to save more, but you can't save $1 million if you don't know how to save $100 a month, okay? And then the third thing is leveraging experts, and we do this through our managed accounts. Basically, I like to say that we have the smartest nerds in the world in our basement. When you get a certain amount of money that you've saved over time, you want people to watch your money and work hard for your money as hard as it for you to make it, right? I have that song, it's she works hard for her money, right? Oh, I gotta laugh, thank God, you guys get all serious when I'm doing off the rails with my wealthy section. Good, I got you back, okay, cool. So, but the thing is like, look, we all work very, very hard for our money, right? And so we wanna make sure that when we start to get some of it together, that we have really smart people doing it. And that's what our managed accounts is. And last of all is the cultivating strategic partnerships. Look, this comes back to my Ronda Rousey, Mike Tyson thing. Maybe it makes sense to just me. But the thing is, aren't we all taught to we're gonna gut it out, right? The idea of that we're gonna work our way out of the problem, right? Robin talked about that institutionalized struggle, right? Basically what that means is that we're on our own. That's what the society teaches us, is that we make too much money so that we don't get help from the government or from the nonprofits. And we don't make enough money for the experts to pay attention to us. So what happens is that we always have to figure it out. Every single time, we've got to get in the ring and we've got to handle it ourselves. Every time. But what do we all know? 1 month, we get in that ring, and someone's going to be better than us, or something's going to happen that we can't handle. And that's when you start to see people having car washes. That's when you start to see people having to make that call to their dad that I've had to make in my life. They're like, Dad, can you just loan me $600, right? Those aren't fun calls or fun experiences. But if we start to arm ourselves with strategic partnerships and leveraging experts and developing habits, then what can happen is that we can actually start to work with our money like the wealthy do. And if we use it through our life and we teach it to our kids, what we actually get is a 2 to 3 generational game plan to wealth. This is not something that happens immediately. It's not something that happens a month from now, right? But these ideas in terms of how the wealthy think about their money provide a plan so that your grandkids can be wealthy. And it's not magic. You don't have to write a screenplay at Starbucks and sell it. You don't have to win the lottery, all right? You don't even have to really become a business person in terms of you can do this with just the money that you make and teaching your children these concepts. And this is important. I get fired up about it because my dad was a construction worker and he didn't teach me any of this. And now I know that with my financial needs analysis and my plan, my grandkids will be wealthy pretty much if we all just follow the plan. We don't have to be undefeated in the ring. We don't have to be a Mike Tyson or a Ronda Rousey. We don't have to do anything special other than work really hard, which we already know how to do, and start to follow a plan and teach it to our children. That's it. It's simple. Now, it may not be easy all the time, but it's actually simple to do. So this is something that we get excited about because we try to bring it to the Main Street family. Sometimes we do it a little more artfully than other times, right? But Brett's going to come up and he's going to talk a little bit about maybe there's a plan that could work a little faster in 2 to 3 generations. Brett Sears.
How y'all doing? I don't like when clickers go, so now we're going to try this with the mouse. So we'll go through. Is it cold in here? Is everyone comfortable? Okay, good. So I am incredibly excited. Thank you guys. It's funny. Something weird happens in the holidays, right? It's like there's not. You all realize now. Look, but Christmas is about 4 hours, right or wrong? Right? If you got little kids, you wake up in the morning. Sometimes it's at 5 in the morning. As you get a little older, then it's like 5:15 in the morning. But by like noon, everything's been opened and destroyed, right or wrong? And then it's like you sit around. But like so, Christmas is about 4 hours of parties. But everyone shuts. Am I the only one that shuts down? You like get distracted. It's like the lights. You drive down the street and oh, pretty lights or something. Well, y'all are serious. All right. So my job more than anything is to kind of bring this together, and it's been a really interesting and fun year. And I'm grateful. I'm appreciative that you guys are here and what tonight's about. And really, what I want to talk about is a little bit about possibilities. We're coming into that time of the year. Not only do we celebrate and look at the pretty lights, but in a couple weeks, people start doing some inventory. You start thinking about 2015, and there's some tangible ones that most of us think about. We look at our credit card debt, and we evaluate, right? Because you guys all remember January of 2000 when you're like, man, this year I'm going to, and then it's like, no, December, and maybe we didn't do all that we were going to do with our debt, or we look at our savings, or we look at our waistline, or we look at a variety of things that we make. Is this okay to talk about? And all of a sudden it's like, okay, well, y'all got a little sensitive on me right there. Y'all went somewhere, right? Y'all went to somewhere where you made a decision in January and it didn't happen, but that's okay because in about 10 or 12 days, you get to forget about 2015 and you get to start getting enthusiastic and hopeful about 2016. It's like, well, I don't care if I didn't lose the weight in January in 2015. In 2016, I'm gonna. No? You're just like, screw it. Just eat more, right? How many of you have ever done I'm going to go on a diet in a week, so I'm going to eat like a complete fiend for the next week? Am I the only one that's ever done that, right? You're just like, everyone else is logical, right? All right, whatever. Right? So, really, y'all, I can start over. I can do the whole thing. I'm fine. I have a little mouth that goes back like this. I am good. No. But why are we talking about this? Because at some point, we start with hope. We start with ambition. We start with desire. We start with the future. And then time goes. Rob and I were just talking. Our twins are 9 months old, right? Luke is standing, like for 12 seconds, but he's standing. And then he falls, and he's confused when he falls. He's like, how did that happen? And then he gets, and he's enjoying the stand and fall and stand and fall. There's so much hope. There's so much enthusiasm. There's so much like growth in his eyes where it's like everything is new and exciting. None of you get excited about standing. Like you don't wake up in the morning and be like, ta-da! Like you've moved on. That enthusiasm has left you because you take for granted Now, some of you do it in front of the mirror, but that's a totally different thing, right? Wow. All right. So, but why am I talking about that? Because this is one of those moments. This is one of those times in our life to go, wait a second here. Can this be more than just an enthusiasm? Can this be something that shifts and changes our life? See, Wade talked about a 2 to 3 generation plan. It's funny, Tony and I had a lot of fun today, and come on Saturday, you're gonna hear a lot about it, but we sat down and did a plan, and I watched this young man who's 21 years old see what's possible, understand the foundation of what his future can look like on a plan. It was an unbelievable experience of, right, we've had the tools, but when something hits you, it's a completely different experience. And so the idea of knowing, right, for Wade, right, their daughter's going to be born in April, right, to know when Wade stands up here and says that my grandchildren are going to be wealthy and all we've got to do is follow that plan, that's not a little thing. That's incredibly cool. Because how many of you had grandparents? Duh, you're here. How many of you think it'd be really cool if your grandparents would have figured this crap out 50 years ago? Some of you aren't sure why that's a big deal. Because if your grandparents would have figured this out 50 years ago, you'd be wealthy. You know, when you're driving down the street, you see the 18-year-old kid in a Porsche 911 Carrera with his hat sideways, and you're like, drugs. You guys know? Am I the only one that's ever done that, right? Have any of you ever pulled him over and go, you must have found a unique opportunity in America. Could you please explain it? No, we're all like, oh, Daddy bought it for him. Like, that's a bad thing. If your grandparents would have done that, your daddy could have bought you that Porsche. You'd be like, oh, no, I'd have earned it. Bullshit, you'd have taken it and driven it like a fool. Why are we talking about that? We're talking about possibilities. We're talking about the fact that there's a shot, right? The ability to know that that's done. The challenge is that my grandparents didn't do that. So now I look at this and go, look, it's like, it's great to think about my grandbabies, right? But that's like a while from now. What about now? What can we do now? What if we wanted to live that type of life now? What would it take? Well, the reality is a one-generation plan in this country is ownership. And I tell the story, right, when we go through this. Tonight's not about convincing anyone in the room that Primerica is the only opportunity. Tonight's about the opportunity that realizes that you and I need to own if we want a legitimate shot to get free in one generation. You got to own something. The question is then, what are you going to own? And that's the next phase to this. Because we talked about it. If you have $500,000 in capital, or you can code and have a great idea, or there's a variety of different things, fantastic. I'm a little kid from Iowa, right? I don't know zeros and ones. I am not a coder. I don't have the great ideas when it comes to this stuff. I am not 6'7". I'm not slam dunking a basketball, and I can barely spell. So writing might not be my future. But the reality is that you can still have that same ambition. And so we said, okay, what is this about? How do we do this? Because it's one thing to go up here. None of us needed to figure out that owning a business is better than necessarily working for somebody, right? So a slide doesn't change that, but how do you do it? See, the reality is this opportunity for this entrepreneurship, this is the spirit that we want because it provides something. It's the ability to build something for you and your family. It's the ability to start where you stand and create what you need for your life. It's not about satisfying anybody else. It's not about trying to make somebody else happy. It's about what is important to you, and then how do you start where you stand and go get it, and then the ability to create and build as big as you want. The ability to say, man, I know folks that say, man, I want to have a little shop. I know folks that say, man, I want to do something big. I want to be national, right? All sorts of, there's a space all the way in between, but we get to start those dreams again. And so say, man, what if we just surrounded ourselves with people that had that spirit, that had that drive? What would be possible? And so we said, man, that's really what this is about. See, the needs for everybody and the needs and dreams for everybody are different. And we start with this as we have this conversation because one of the things I can do is, what would an extra $500 to $1,000 a month do for you? See, I was 22 years old at $24,000 in credit card debt when I got here. An extra $500 to $1,000 a month allowed me to answer the phone. Now, a lot of you kids don't understand this, but y'all know now, like if someone calls and leaves you a message, you just get to swipe it, right? If you're on your phone and you see it, you just swipe it, it goes away, right? But even if they leave a message, can anyone in the world hear that message? No, but there were these things called answering machines. You guys have heard of those before? If you look at it, if you Google it, you'll see a picture, right? And there's this little thing with a little tape on it. And what you would do is you'd leave an outgoing message. Hi, you've reached so-and-so. I'm not here right now. Please leave a message and I'll call you when I get home. Because I left the house at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went and did my stuff. I got back home and at 7 o'clock at night, and I didn't know you called me at 8:03. Tragic. It's a little sarcastic. Some of you are like, I wouldn't know what to do. Look, how many of you have ever left your house in the last couple of years? You've left your house without your phone, and you didn't have your phone the entire day, and you went into a panic attack, right? It's one of those things, right? But I'll never forget as long as I did, as long as I live, right? I was going to get things, and I was $24,000 credit card debt, and I was dating a young lady, and I came to the house, and another young lady called and left a message, and back in the day, you'd have an answering machine just high enough to hear who it is, but not high enough for anyone else to understand what they were saying, right? This is a bachelor, right? You're just kind of there. And the young lady answered, left a message. But the young lady wasn't leaving a message because like she thought I was cute. A young lady was leaving a message because I owed money. And so it was, hi, Mr. Sears, you're calling. But it was just loud enough to hear that I was a woman, but not loud enough to hear what it was. And so all of a sudden, I'm dating a young lady. She comes in, and all of a sudden, we're at the house, and I hear this message. You need to answer the phone. No, I didn't answer the phone. All of a sudden, another lady starts answering the phone. I run, and I turn it off. That looks incredibly suspicious. Because now it's, well, why, who was it? And I'm like, and it's not fun to explain to someone you're trying to date that you have no money. Right or wrong? Bro, why are you talking about that? Because an extra $500 or $1,000 a month allowed me to answer the phone. That was my big dream. Answer the phone. Fill my gas tank with more than $10. Really? That's like important. And there's some people that can completely relate that, and other people that are so, you're like, oh, I have a $100 bill, I don't even need to pick it up. There's nothing wrong with either one of them. But see, for a lot of people, an extra $500 to $1,000 a month allows us to breathe a little bit. But what would an extra $2,500 to $5,000 do? See, my head couldn't even go there. But it was nice to know someone was talking about it. And what if, fill in the blank. See, I'm one of those guys that at 3 o'clock in the morning, right, I start dreaming about money, and I like get myself so excited when I'm like 19 years old. I'm like, I tripped over 11 million, and what would I do? And all of a sudden it's like 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, shut up and go to sleep because I get myself so worked up. Not anymore, but as a kid, y'all with me? I remember that feeling of like, what's possible? See, because as a kid, I was always told, go out and play. I learned that meant I was bugging my dad. I didn't know that as a kid, right? As a kid, I thought they want me to play outside. As an adult, I'm like, oh, he was about to end my life. And so he was like, I don't want to go to jail. Go out and play. Because if you're a parent, you realize every once in a while your kids drive you to do things. Like in your brain, you're like, oh, that would not be good. But it was go out and play, go out and play, go out and play. And then one day, it became, when are you going to take things seriously? I'm like, well, yesterday you said go play. Today you now know. I'm confused. And I realized that a lot of that dreaming, a lot of that possibility, a lot of that stuff went away. And he said, man, I want to surround myself in life. I walked into a room, I go, man, I love enthusiasm. I love excitement. I love the idea of dreaming. Now look, I'm not talking about easy. We're talking about what is simple to do isn't always easy. But man, it's fun to start thinking about possibilities because we can't hit a target we're not aiming for. If we don't dream it up, if we don't get passionate about it, it's not going to happen. So it got exciting to start thinking about possibilities. The opportunity of curiosity. The opportunity of inspiration. Right? We've got a 13-year-old and an 11-year-old. And the biggest thing we try to do with the children, with the older boys, is to get them curious about learning, curious about adventure, curious about effort. They always want to enjoy what they're doing. And it's one of the biggest changes that I've watched in people today, is that if they don't enjoy it, they don't want to do it. Look, the reality is there's lots of things in life you're going to have to do whether you enjoy it or not. So if you can find a way to enjoy what you got to do, whether it's fun or not, man, it becomes a whole lot more fun. Okay, y'all got serious again. I had you until that last one. You're like, that was good until like, no, I want to enjoy it. But man, the opportunity to be inspired. And so we said, what is this about? See, this is what tonight's about. This is what this room is about. You see, what we do is we're a business incubator designed on purpose to create and sustain high-level entrepreneurs. And then when I walked in the room, the first time I would have solved this, I said, well, then must not be talking to me because I'm a 22-year-old waiter. I'm not a high-level entrepreneur. I'm like, but I have that spirit of starting where I stand, where I want to go do something special. That ability to create something for my family, that opportunity to learn. I can be curious and I can be inspired. That stuff that Wade was talking about was pretty important, it sounded like, because at 22 years old, 30-year-olds are old, right? I got 20, y'all realize that at 23, but I am an old guy to Jonathan. I've known Jonathan since he was 8 years old, right? He's like his old parents' friends meeting right now. He's like, this old guy told me to come to a meeting. I'm 42, and he's like, that old guy. Then I get that. But now I'm 42, man, I'm like 70's not that old, man. We got stuff to do. It's amazing perspective. But what if somebody could gather up experience and shave off a decade or two? What if someone could show us step-by-step how to create success? It's amazing what the possibilities are in front of us. And that's really what this is about, is we said, man, we want a one-generation plan. The key is to build ownership, to harness that entrepreneurial spirit, to have a leverageable support system so we don't have to be all things to all people, and to create a part-time path. See, tonight's not about recruiting people into a business and having them quit their job and change anything. It's like, look, keep doing what you're doing, but the opportunity to make an impact, no one's coming. So we said, man, if we really wanted to do something different, we'd have to create a space for people to have the spirit, the support, and the opportunity. And so that's really what we wanted to create, and that's what I'm going to talk about for the next couple of minutes. Is we said, man, if we really wanted to grow, see, here's the thing, the impact. There's 70 million families that are stuck, and they don't know. We believe that to be incredibly true. We believe that to be a fundamental problem in this country. The challenge is that the taxes of this group pay for these services, and the discretionary income pays for their lifestyle. So, does anyone want the system to change economically? No. So, right, we heard, do the bank's insurance company have any interest in changing? No. The industry doesn't have a lot of interest in changing? No. And most of us don't know what we're doing, so we can't change it on our own. So we end up repeating the cycle. So we have a couple choices. We can stand out and say, man, we want to fundamentally change this. I don't believe we're the only financial services company in the industry that says we want to change this. The problem is, how do you get the message out? Well, we're going to put $1 billion worth of commercials on TV because we've got to be known. That make sense? How many of you would like to say 15% or more on your garbage? Right? You wouldn't? Most of us would like to. It'd be great too. How many of us have called? Almost nobody, but we know the cool little commercials. Why? Because what they do is they say the way we all know of those companies is they charge their clients more money than they should in order to have discretionary money to go do advertising so that they can attract more customers. That's just the reality of the scenario. Well, in our industry, if we're trying to show Main Street families how to create wealth, every dollar matters. And so we said, we've got to get this message out to people, but we have to do it fundamentally differently or we're going to become just like everybody else. And everybody else has no interest in changing the system. They have interest in growing and profiting for the company. And so we said, look, we're going to take a different approach. We're going to attract those entrepreneurs so that we can get our message out there. The only way to do that, though, is through low capital entry, right? I can't have $500,000 to join a business. I don't have it. We said, man, we need a partnership platform. One of the most powerful things we do is our partnership platform that says, look, Primerica is a financial services company. I was talking, Bella had a guest here and had to leave. We were talking, I'm like, hey, he sat with he was a client of Primerica's for about 8, 9, 10 years. And he's like, he goes, man, this opportunity is great, but I don't know. And I go, well, do you have any interest in being in financial services? And he looked at me like I had a third eyeball. Like, I didn't dream about financial services. But you guys remember as a kid, how many of you drew pictures? You want to be, inside linebacker, right? You want to be base center fielder because as a kid, you can be both. Right? Bo Jackson can do it, so can I, right? I want to be a fireman, all of a sudden. Did any of you dream investment guy? Have a little plaid jacket, no. Neither did I. But I love the opportunity of knowing Tony's going to be free. That the families that we touch have a legitimate shot to create freedom. And so we said, man, if we can attract a company like Primerica and let them be the experts in financial services, we don't have to. If we can have an unbelievable back office support company that runs the administration, we don't have to do it. so that we can make sure that we leverage these two partners and we get to get great at telling a story to the people in our lives that it doesn't have to be the same way. Because I can't be that good, both because my ambitions aren't there and my education's not there. But man, if I could have great people do it, then we still got to provide the opportunity. And then it's got to be worth it. At the end of the day, look, we're all here and we want to create the greatest part-time opportunity in the world, but it's got to be economically worth it or none of us are going to do it. And we said, so our number one philosophy, what we do is we build allies, we build advocates, and we associate. See, tonight's about creating a space. It's about realizing we can't do anything alone. If we had everybody in our life understood and support the mission we're on, we have a legitimate shot of getting this message to the right people. If the people that get emotionally connected to what we do are on a lookout for people who need our help or need to do something different, we have an opportunity to find and attract amazing people. And if we can build a support system of folks that say, man, I want to change my situation and I can provide this opportunity to other people, we have a shot to do something real. So we said, okay, how do we do this? So in the next couple minutes, I'm going to talk about our associate path because we think it's important. We invite our clients down. This is an opportunity to understand how this works and why, because there's no way to understand how we're going to reach the people we need to reach unless we understand. And so we said, look, we created a position we call our gaps. It's one of my favorite, one of my dream places. Because I know lots of people that I sit with me and they're like, Fred, I have no interest in building for America. I'm like, I totally get it. You love doing what you're doing. I got no problems. The challenge is that there's 10,000 people turning 65 years old every day for the next 19 years. This is the first generation that's ever had access to a 401k or an IRA. Their parents have had pensions. They work for 20 or 30 or 40 years and they got a check for $1,500 or $2,000 a month. And as long as they didn't die, that money kept coming in. And if they did, they figure it out. But now all of a sudden, instead of a check for $2,000, they're getting 300 grand or 400 grand or 600 grand or $1 million or 50,000 or 70,000 because they've been saving for an extended period of time. And do you think they have any idea what to do with that money? Do they know how to talk to wealth advisors at all? No. So this industry gets to go, oh. So there's all these people with all this money and they have no idea what to do. We're going to have fun. We said, no. What if we could take care of our aunts, our uncles, our cousins, our best friends, our next door neighbors, and just introduce them to the people that are needed, the people that can actually help them put their interests in heart. If we could just align our goals, good things can happen. See, to one of our gaps, $1 million of assets under management will pay about $4,300 a year. That's $380 a month. Is $380 going to change somebody's life? Well, it would have let me answer the phone. But what it does is it starts to create some possibilities. With $5 million in assets under management is about $1,800. The average person started working at 22 years old. They retired at 67. The average Social Security check is $1,269. Someone could be working with us for 2 or 3 years and literally have security for their family that's high. That's more than Social Security after 40-something years old. Because the opportunity we have to reach and impact people is unbelievable. Because we get to align our goals with helping the people that need it, creating a space, and allowing people to accumulate some wealth for their family. We have part-timers, folks that love their job. They say, man, I just want to be able to grow. And we say, man, what if someone could keep their job, keep doing what they're doing, but make an extra $500 to $1,000 a month every time they help somebody along with building assets? This starts to create some possibilities, some teachers, firemen, people that love their job, that want to go through, but they just don't make. Everyone talks about, oh, we love teachers and all this stuff. The only problem with teachers, they just don't pay enough money. Well, is that going to change anytime soon? No, because there's no money in it. It's not sexy. So guess who we're going to attract? We're going to constantly attract less and less caliber of folks that are teaching because there's no economics to it. That's not a critical, that's just the reality of the situation. We said, what if we could attract great people that love teaching and help them make an extra $1,500 a month without changing their financial life, without doing anything? It makes it a little bit easier and they can follow that passion. Man, that can make sure that there's amazing teachers in a classroom changing kids' lives and allowing them to make sure that their financial situation is taken care of. Because you know what? If you've ever been financially struggling and you walk into a situation, it's almost impossible to not give your attention to what's going on in your personal life. Well, that issue's handling in front of our children. But if we can make sure that those issues aren't going to that parent, those teachers, they can be that much better for our kids. See, guys, our part-time opportunity can literally revolutionize the possibility in this country. Because we're in the financial services industry. There's full-time investment specialists. That's all they do. There's full-time insurance agents. That's all they do. We get to do it part-time and change people's lives and have a life. We were laughing about the holidays. There's normally 2 times, 3 times the people in this room. Why aren't they here? Because it's December. And it's a great part-time opportunity. When the timing's not right, they're not here. And when the timing is, they are here. We wanted to create that space, but also give them the ability to know that Christmas is taken care of. And it doesn't have to go on a doggone credit card. Sorry, I get excited about that. I love that. But there's a handful of us that are like, yeah, you know that whole great job thing? That ain't me. Like, I like working, but, you know, how do I get out of my job? And we said, man, let your job be the most valuable asset in your life for a period of time. Because if you could learn how to run a business, if your job literally pays you, provides the opportunity for you to learn, build, and grow your business, you are unstoppable. If you could learn how to run a business while your job paid you, so that you ultimately could transition out of your job, have the skills and the resources, you are unstoppable. Because you can grow assets and licenses and skills and resources and associates. It's the opportunity to grow every step. And then there's some entrepreneurs in the room. There's some of those that say, okay, this whole part-time, but what's that ownership opportunity? How do we get free in one generation? So we said, okay. The reason that ownership is so valuable is it's the opportunity to earn income 3 different ways. Passive income. Well, like we talked about the managed accounts, $15 million of assets under management pays about $8,300 a month. If you teach a team how to have $30 million collectively, that's another $100,000 a year. Revenue. The ability to drive business, the ability to have a team of people that's creating profit and revenue right now. If you build a team that helps 30 families a month, that pays you a couple $150,000 to $200,000 a year. And then my favorite is profit. Because profit comes from the ability to leverage passive revenue in a different location. The ability to take your skill set and impart it to somebody else, help them accumulate freedom in their life, and you be compensated forever. That sounds fun. See, because in our business, if you produce a vice president that does half of what you do, they'll make $150,000 a year, but the company pays about a $6,200 bonus. That's about $72,000 a year in profit for every vice president you teach to do what you did. That's not crazy people that go build monster giant organizations. That's people who do half of the office. So, well, if you produce 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. So I sat down and said, look, if over the next 5 to 7 years, someone started as a gap and that's all they did and they created assets, that changed their life. We've got our part-timers that love doing what they're doing, but they make a little bit of money part-time within their schedule. That alleviates stress and fun and allows them to maintain the security of what they want. That'll accomplish something. For the folks that want to go full-time, the opportunity to learn a skill, to learn how to grow something, gives them freedom. And for the folks that want to, over the next 5 to 7 years, say, man, what if I could build a business? Make $200,000 of passive income, $200,000 in revenue, and $350,000 by producing vice presidents, that's $750,000 a year. Now, 7 years from now, if you had an opportunity to make $50,000 or $60,000 a month, could you save enough money and have a decent life to be able to provide some security for you and your family? So we said we wanted to provide a one-generation plan. Now, is everybody in this room, everyone we tell, going to become team owners in this success? No, because that's not the space. It's about where does it fit. It's not about convincing anyone to be any one person. It's about what's important to you and how do we create it. How do we solve the problem in your family? See, whether it's as an ally, as an advocate, or as an associate, we said there's a place for everyone and a role for all of us. One of the most proud things I have is the opportunity to create a space where people can be themselves, where you get to fight and accomplish the things that are important to you. And so, I'm excited about that. But one of the things, probably if you could come up real quick, one of the really fun things that we've got is we love growth and recognition and stuff like that. And so what we've got, you got to go through a licensing process and do all this other stuff. And when you finish your hours and quizzes, right, you're part of our organization called Team Access and stuff like that. So you get a little mouse pad and stuff like that. So this couple's been here a couple weeks, finished school, about to take a test, doing unbelievable. She has no idea she's getting this, but really, really excited about this. So I'd like to recognize as the, done with school, the awesome Colin and Desi. Come on up here. like, why am I doing that? He's like, here, you gotta do this. She's like, what am I doing? She's like, just answer these questions. So
Every time you show up, there's something else.
but I love that. I love the fact that we've got people that are stepping up and growing, and it's fun to play. Guys, we're in a special time of the year. And take some time with your family. Take some time with yourself, right? Utilize this time in our lives to get to recommit to what's important to you. To realize, right? And for me, I'm a big believer in gathering up 2015. What'd you learn? Look, we could all make a laundry list of the things we didn't do. And it's always so easy to highlight the things we didn't do. What about the things you have? How much growth has 2015 gave you? And if you gathered up that growth and that energy, what could happen in 2016? So you guys, the opportunity is now. The opportunity is right. We spent the last couple of years building what we've got. Now we get to go grow. We've got an amazing group of people, an awesome partnership, and an opportunity to go do something in a time that's never been better. We're blessed to have you guys in our lives. We've got training back here on Saturdays from 9 to 11. We open our books, t-shirts and jeans, and just kind of hang out and really get the fundamentals of the business going, because we want everyone to become as strong as they want to become. We're not going to be here next Wednesday. We're going to be here on the 16th. Right, holidays kind of goes through. My goal is we don't. My goal is right before Christmas, right before the New Year's. We've got one on the 16th, and then I think it's on the 30th. We've got 2 more for the rest of the year. The people that need to hear this, the people that are going to, in our lives, that are going to be making decisions in the first quarter of the year about the life that they want, let's let them hear who we are. Let's let them hear what's possible. Let's let them understand that if they start planning for their future now, they have a better opportunity of making it happen.
And the people who you know that you want in your corner in the first quarter to support you in your goals. Those are the folks that you get to invite over the next couple weeks.
Thank you guys so much for coming. If there's any questions, we're around. Thanks. Have a great night.
You're getting all excited. I'm like, you learned this. I was feeling all that energy coming out.